Hey guys, we have an amazing guest for you today. I am so excited for her to share all of the gems that she will be sharing. Miss Ebony Lucas, okay? She's an attorney, real estate investor, yacht owner, and the list goes on and on. She started investing in 2017, so she is a vet, okay? She have some experience under her belt, and she's going to share some amazing gems. She's promised to be transparent, to be open, and give you guys the real tea. So without further ado, I'm going to allow Miss Ebony Lucas to tell us more about herself and go from there. Tell me a little more about yourself.
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me here tonight. I'm super excited. You said 2017, but I've actually been investing since 2007, so 10 years before that.
Yes, 20. Look,
Uh,
get those numbers right.
listen,
2007,
yes,
2007. She's
yes.
experienced,
I'm
okay?
old. I'm old. I'm telling my age. I'm telling my age. So yeah, so I was licensed to practice law in 2004. Graduated from University of Michigan Law School, and I started working in Detroit and went through a divorce. And it was a traumatic divorce, and I was a single mom, and I decided to move to Chicago. And I moved to Chicago with my law firm, but then I was like, I'm not happy, and this is not what God intended for me. So I left and started working for a nonprofit organization teaching people about the Illinois Condominium Property Act. And then I saw like people were like in these buildings where I was like helping people. These condos were selling for like $35,000.
Wow.
I was like, ooh, I got some money in savings. Let me see if I can figure this out. So I bought my first property. And when I bought my first property, I didn't know anything about real estate. I didn't have any plan about being a real estate investor. But over the years, I learned a lot. I really started buying condos and transitioned to buying small buildings. So I was buying like 3 to 6 units. And then I bought some commercial retail. And I'm here today now with a $12 million real estate portfolio that I just really worked
Say
up
that
from
number again. Say that number again. How much?
$12 million is the value of my real estate portfolio. It's in Chicago, New Orleans, and Florida.
Yes, that is
And
amazing.
it is, it is. And it took, for a long time because, we live in I'm a giver, right? So like
Okay.
I felt bad about what I had achieved for a really long time. And not only did I feel bad, but I let other people make me feel bad, right? So like people will money shame you. And
Mm,
so I like allowed that to impact me. And so I didn't talk about what I had achieved. And now I'm like, you know what? I worked for where I am today. It's not like I didn't get here for free. I didn't get here because, my parents gave it to me. I got here because I worked. And, my parents set me up to get here. But after they set me up, I did what I needed to do to be where I am. And that meant a whole lot of like waking up early in the morning. It meant a whole lot of making sure I worked out in the mornings. It meant making sure I made the right relationships so that I could get to where I am today. So I'm happy to talk about it because I want to share because I can't make all the money. It's plenty out there for other people to make. You
yes.
guys just need to know how to get here.
Absolutely. And one of the questions that I want to talk about is a lot of people are going to hear that you are an attorney. And somehow the question will be asked, is this something they can do, or was you privileged because you're an attorney? Like, what's your thoughts around that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I feel like there are some advantages I had because I was an attorney, but you can hire an attorney to do certainly, you can hire me, right? And there's other real estate attorneys that you can hire that can help you to try to figure out like what your strategy is or how do you find certain properties, like how do you find distressed properties, that kind of thing. So I had the advantage in that I was able to find those myself. But I didn't find everything on my own, right? Like one of the things that I've learned is to work with the professionals. So the professionals for me are the real estate agents. And so I work with real estate agents I use real estate agents for my rentals. I use real estate agents to help me find properties. So some things I find as a result of being an attorney, other things, I use the right professionals.
Which is key. Having the proper network will help you increase your net worth. And a lot of people don't understand that this field, this industry is not for you to do it alone. It is not meant for you to do it alone. It's meant for you to partner with professionals, and then you make money through your partnerships, right? And
Mhm.
you mentioned your very first deal. You got started with a condo. Was that for $35,000?
One condo for $35,000.
Tell us about
Um,
your first deal. Like, is this still possible?
so you know what it is, but you have to look deeply. I found it. It was a foreclosure, and of course, like we all know, 2007 to 2009 was a housing market downturn. So I was lucky to find a lot of the deals that I found. It doesn't mean that those deals aren't out there. But what was $35,000 then might be $150,000 now. But that $150,000 is still a great deal because, like, last year I bought a condo for $150,000, rehabbed it for about 30,000 and sold it for 310, right? So
Numbers, yes.
yeah, so those deals are out there, but that number one thing you talked about, numbers, knowing the numbers, right? So making sure that you understand when you buy something, like don't just let somebody tell you, oh, this is a $50,000 property and you're going to spend $30,000 on rehab. I tell people, listen, a bathroom costs 15,000, a kitchen costs 20,000. So if you have two bathrooms, that's 30,000, a kitchen, that's 50,000 right there, right? So have some type of metrics to go through so that you understand the numbers, because that is the thing. And I'm horrible at math, right? And you're a lawyer too. Like one of the jokes is that lawyers are lawyers because we're bad at math. Like we're horrible at math. So, and I'll be the first to say, I'm not good at math. I've done more spreadsheets in my career than I ever thought I would do. I've done more with numbers than I ever thought I would do. But knowing those numbers is so important.
Yes, one of the things that I tell people is you can always outsource what you don't know. And if you don't know numbers, you outsource it to an accountant. If you don't know the legal part, outsource it to an attorney. Right? I think we have a lot of problems because we try to do all the things ourselves. And
Mhm.
realistically, you don't have the skill set to do five different professionals' job.
Right.
And the best thing about real estate, quite frankly, is most parties get paid at closing, at the end of the
Mhm.
deal, which means you can really get quality professionals to help you at the beginning of your deal, which is amazing. So I always love that how did you get started story, because it lets people know that yes, you have a $12 million portfolio today, but you didn't start it with $12 million on day one. You kind of built up to that, right?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
what do you think, like, in terms of that first moment that you realized this is it? Like, did you get that from your first deal, or did it take multiple deals for you to say, this is it?
Yeah, so my brother is also a real estate investor in Detroit.
Okay.
And he's younger than me. He's 4 years younger than me. And we talk all the time. We even to this day, we talk all the time. And I would be talking to him and he'd be like, yeah, so my goal is to buy 4 properties this quarter. What's your goal? And I was like, goal? I don't know.
Yes.
I was like, maybe I need to start setting some goals. So, I went into it as something very much not deliberately, but then I learned that real estate is an industry. This is not something you do by accident. It's something where you can really build wealth, but you have to build wealth on a plan.
Yes.
Then I went to look up, and let me tell you who I looked up. I'm gonna be super transparent with you. I looked up Gabrielle Union, and I was like, "What is Gabrielle Union's net worth?" And at the time, Gabrielle Union's net worth was $3 million, and I was like, "You know what? I want to have
I
three
want
million
$3
dollars."
million.
That's what I did. So I set a goal. I said my net worth goal is $3 million. And I was like, okay, well, if my net worth goal is $3 million, how many properties do I have to buy? How long is it going to take me to get there? And so what I figured out, okay, it's going to take me 5 years. I need to buy one property a quarter. So I wasn't aggressive about it at all. I was just trying to buy
Okay.
4 properties a year. And one of the things, my birthday is in December, and I was like, every year I'm going to buy myself a property on my birthday, no matter what happens. And
Yes.
so I like made that my goal, and that's how I started to grow. Is that it wasn't until I started setting goals and realizing, okay, you have to have a plan. You're not just in this by accident. It's not, you meet people that are like, oh, I got a couple dollars. I think I want to throw it towards some real estate. And I'm like, no, don't do
What's
that.
the
Right.
goal with it, right?
Exactly. Like you're gonna lose money if you do that. And so, and I would be remiss if to say that I haven't lost money, right? Like, so a lot of the deals in the beginning and even now, like you have deals where you lose money, right? So
Yes.
how do you set a plan, set it, have a direction. So you say, okay, this is what I want to do. And so then I got to the 3 million. And then I was like, okay, I want to retire by 40. What do I need to do to retire by 40? So I made a goal for that. And then when I was at 40, I took some time off and I didn't buy stuff. And then when I was, probably mid my 40th year, I was like, oh, nope, I'm still going to buy some more. And I started buying more. And so your goals change and you continue to grow. But every time you grow, you set a new goal. You set a plan. You say, okay, I've met that. Let me go back and review and see what more can I do? Or do I need to do more? Sometimes it's, I don't need to do more. I need to take a break.
Okay.
And so I've had those moments where I'm like, I need to take a break and just get this done. So somebody asked me on Instagram, and so I want to answer the question, are these cash deals? So one of the things I've learned how to do is leverage. So no,
Yes.
like I'm not always spending cash out of my pocket. That's the first $35,000. Yeah, that was cash. That was out of my pocket. $35,000. It was out of my savings retirement account. I pulled it out. I made that first investment. But now, I use the properties that I have and I leverage them. So I know how to get, do refinances. No lender is ever going to let you refinance 100% of what you own. So you're always still going to have some equity in that property. But if they let you get 65%, you can use that 65% to buy the next property and get the next project.
Which is really good that you mentioned, about how to leverage, right? You're starting off with that first property, but if you do it correctly, that first property can turn into your third property and your seventh
Yep.
property just by pulling your equity that's in that property. And one of the questions that I had, you talked a lot about having a goal and having a plan. And many people struggle with creating that actual goal or that plan in the beginning. You have a lot of, particularly our channel tends to get a lot of females, and they are parents. They some of them have had divorces similar to yourself, and they're really rebuilding from scratch. So what do you recommend in terms of being able to create that plan and that goal when they're first starting? Because it may be a little harder doing that. I'm fresh out of a divorce, or I have a brand new newborn baby, or my children is 5 and 10. And what is your advice around that?
Yeah. So when I started, my son was 4. And I was by myself. My ex was not helping with anything. And so my thing was, I wanted to do something that I could do by myself and I didn't have to rely on anybody else. And so I was like, okay, when I bought that first 35,000, I bought a condo because it was in a building where other people paid into the common area maintenance, and there was a condo board and they managed the project, and so I mean the property, so that I didn't have to do the property management, I didn't have to cut any grass, that kind of thing. The other thing is, like I said, using professionals. Like I'm not going to go and show a property, right? I use real estate agents that do rentals, and they're professionals, so they know what they're doing. And you spend that little bit of money, but you get much more quality tenants, and you don't have to put the same work into it. So that's what I started buying. My whole portfolio, all the way really up until probably like 2019. So for the first 12 years I was investing, it's all condos.
Okay.
And even like during that time, I did get remarried. But my husband was like, I'm not interested in real estate. That's your thing. I don't want to be anybody's landlord. I don't want to have anything to do with it. Do your thing.
Now, did he
So
change his mind once he saw the checks from it?
listen, he changed his mind when he turned 50 2 years ago and was like, I'm tired of this job. I don't want to do it anymore. And I was like, you don't have to. Because we make enough money over here for this little thing that you ain't want to have nothing to do with.
Yes.
So
That
now,
little thing is a big thing now.
yes, yes. So now he's like helps and he works in the business, but he wasn't before. And I didn't get mad at him about it. It was okay. Like he did his job, he did what he did, I did what I did. But I loved what I was doing and he loved what he was doing. And that's okay. I think people are like, I had a friend who her and her boyfriend were in it together and she's like, I don't know how you deal with it. He don't want to work with you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't care. Like he's happy with what he does. And I'm
And
happy with what
sometimes,
I do, and I'm doing it in a space where I can manage it.
absolutely. And sometimes when you are building something new and you are, breaking these barriers, you are the first person to do it, which means you have to step out on faith, accomplish the goal, and let them see the success story. That will then allow them to want to be a part of it because it is scary, right? This thing, a lot of times they've never seen it done. You're the first in the family probably to do it, right? Or very few people in your family have done it. So there's a little doubt about it. But sure enough, when they see the first check, the second check, the third check, it really changes perspectives most of the time. And they're like, she's consistent. This business is operated for some years now, so I know it's real. And now we can actually take this serious, or they can take it serious now and come on board because they know this is a real viable option in terms of helping you and your family build legacy. So I just encourage people, if your spouse is not originally on board, that's because you haven't had wins yet. When you start showing win after win after win, a good spouse will come on board, right? Eventually. So, um, with your first deal, which is like critical, right? To get you to your second and your third deal, what do you think is that, like, really that step of mindset shift? At what point did your mindset shift? Was it, further down the line, or did you have to do that before you even was able to have a successful deal?
That mindset shift is a great question. I'm actually writing a book about that right now.
Yes.
And it started, my mindset shift actually started, interestingly enough, because I was selected to participate in Oprah's debt diet. And so
Mm.
about financial priorities and I learned a whole lot of financial literacy that I didn't have because I think that in the black community a lot of times we don't talk about money, right? So my parents were business owners and I never knew how much money they made or how hard they worked or what they needed to do to get to what, because we don't talk about it. We don't bring our kids into our businesses. We want to protect them and shield them from that. We don't want them to struggle like we're struggling. And so when we do that, sometimes we block them actually from the financial literacy and the education that they need. And so I didn't have that, right? So even though I came from a family of
Absolutely.
entrepreneurs, I was a mess when it came to money, which is why I had to file for bankruptcy, right? Because I'm married, but everything was in my name because I didn't know that I should value my credit in a way that I shouldn't just give it to everybody and let everybody put things in my name and that kind of thing. I just didn't know. I just knew my mom was like, make sure you
Absolutely.
protect your credit, right? Make sure you have a good
Not
credit
knowing the
score.
importance of why.
Exactly. So my mindset shift happened actually when Oprah said to me, she was like, sometimes in life you feel like you need so much when in reality you have everything that you need. You just need to find what makes you happy, what you enjoy, and you need to do that and follow that. And that's what will give you the financial means that you need.
Yes, and that
And
is so important. You
yeah.
have what you need to be successful, but you
Mhm.
have to start executing and taking the right steps to be able to feel your potential because you already have what you need to be successful. There are going to be areas where you mentioned financial literacy. If you don't, kind of know those things already, read some books, take some trainings, kind of gain that knowledge, and then from there just start executing.
Yeah, absolutely. Invest in yourself, right? Like that's the one thing that I'll say that it took me a long time. Like I didn't do that in the beginning, right? So even though I told you I talk to my brother all the time, and so maybe back in 2018, so this is 10 years into my investing, my brother was like, hey, you know what? I went to this conference and the conference was so interesting because what I really got from that is that real estate is an industry. And he was like, there's all these people out there. And he was like, there were people at the conference that were buying 100 properties a month. And he's like, you got to go to this next conference. So I went to the next conference, and what I got from the next conference, I actually had dinner and lunches with CEOs of finance companies, and they were like, oh yeah, you got a deal? What's the deal? All right, we'll do that right there. Doing the deal at the table because you're at the table with people. And it took me to spend $1,500 on the conference ticket and however much I spent on the flight and however much I spent on the hotel. But that investment in myself and in my business is something that I think as an entrepreneur, a lot of times we don't do. We don't invest in ourselves and our businesses. Once I did that investment, I walked away with so much more than, let's say I spent $2,500. I walked away with so much more value than $2,500. And you continue to shift your mindset, right? So now, first I had that initial mindset shift, but now I'm in a room with people who are doing what I do, but doing it 1,000 times better. So now I'm learning from them, right? And so then I'm like, okay, let me go to the next conference. And the more you create relationships with people who are doing what you do, and I love the page that you started, so that people can talk to each other and you talk about, your downfalls and your mistakes, and you learn from other people's mistakes and you get resources from people so that you can continue to grow. Your mindset continues to shift and you have to be open to that.
Yes, getting in the room is very important. When they say reach out to your circle of friends and family, sometimes people are so focused on who's their bloodline, right? Your immediate friends and family, you should be evolving every single year. Add people into that group. If you were not born from wealth, which I wasn't, I was born from into poverty as well. Now, before my mama say, girl, you was not poor. Okay, we had a little bit more than the average. Okay. My mom is a college grad. She did have a good job, but it was still poverty. Okay. But not like, we can't eat poverty. I never missed a meal. Let me clear that up. But, I didn't come from wealth and from money and resources and things of that nature. So it was really important to do the things that you're mentioning. Get yourself in the room, expand your network of people. If you didn't come from wealth, get in a room with wealthy people. They will share, right? And what I started doing, like I joined some country clubs here in Chicago land area that really allowed me to be in the rooms with different caliber of people where they can do deals at the table, as you mentioned. They can expose you to different other networking events that you had no idea about because you are not in that crowd, right? So just by getting in the room, sometimes the knowledge that you will receive from being in that room will provide a wealth of value to you. And to be honest, sometimes you have to pay to play.
Yep.
You have to pay to go in
those rooms. Let me tell you, I went to that conference, but I went to another conference where I paid $3,500 to go to the conference, right? Which is, it's a lot of money. It was in California. Yes. And I went to, I paid for my ticket to California. I paid for my hotel in California. All that was more expensive. But when we got there, I was in a room with Marco Rubio, like people who own NBA teams, people who I was in a room with billionaires, not millionaires, billionaires, right? And those people will share. All they need to do is meet you, and they will share resources because they're very open. And you can't be afraid to be the only one who looks like you in a room as well. Because a lot of
Yes.
those rooms, there were no other women. A lot of those rooms, there were no other black people except the people serving. And, you have a moment of almost embarrassment because you're like, wow, the black people in the room are the only black people in the room are the people serving. But you say hi to them, you smile at them, they bring you a little extra on the side. They make sure that
Yes.
the food comes to you first,
And they're
right?
just as embarrassed too, right? They really
Yes.
are, believe it or not, they're just as embarrassed because they too are like not only I won't say embarrassed, they're excited. When they see us and we're the
Yeah.
only black person in the room, they're surprised, right? And
Yeah.
I laugh all the time because we know the feeling of surprise when we see it and we know exactly why they're doing it. They will never say anything, but they're like, "Are you here?
Yeah. Another black
What did
person.
I
You
do for you?"
yeah, hey.
They're like, they literally do like the happy black girl dance, black magic dance. And I'm like, thank you, it's me. Even the country club that I'm a part of, I sign in and they're like, are you the member? Oh, hi, how are you? And they're proud because they aren't used to seeing us in those spaces, but we
Yeah.
have to be okay with entering those spaces because what I've learned throughout my career, there's a door behind the door, right? And if
Mhm.
you never open that first layer, you won't realize there's two more doors after you open that first door, right? And so you have to go in a room to see how are they investing, what are the things they are investing in, how is it different from the everyday investments that we do, and how can you become a part of that level of success. I call it the success wheel, right? How do I get
Yeah.
on this level success wheel? And one of the things you mentioned, and I want to talk about, is that imposter syndrome. Well, you mentioned, getting in the room and being okay with it only being you. Have you ever had a moment where you kind of feel that imposter syndrome? Because I feel like a lot of women of color, minority women in particular, when we do that first investment, you get that first check and it's like $40,000, $50,000. Okay, you do the second deal. The first deal, you like, was this a mistake? Is this luck? What happened? Can I do it again? Right? Now you do the second deal. The third deal, it's not luck by the third deal. And that's when imposter syndrome starts kicking in. So have you ever felt like an imposter at times when you know you are more than qualified?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, like I said, a lot of times it's, sometimes it's other people imposed, but sometimes it's self-imposed where we money shame ourselves, right? Like,
Yes.
should I be doing this? Do I really deserve this? Like, should I, like, and maybe you don't say, do I deserve it? Because you know you deserved it, you
Mhm.
know you worked for it, but in your behavior, you say, do I deserve it? Right? Like you act like you don't deserve to be where you are. And I think that, that like that's when you got to bring other people in the room, right? You got to bring your girlfriend that is also business minded and be like, hey, you know what? Can you
Yes.
come to this with me? That's when you do got to talk to the person. You're the only black person in the room other than the waiter. You got to step over to the side and talk to the waiter and be like, hey, how you doing or whatever, and get that moment of comfort to help you to remember and realize, yep, I'm exactly where I need to be. I'm exactly where I work to be. I'm exactly where I deserve to be, and then move forward from there, right? And so
Yes.
step in those rooms with confidence, knowing that you deserve to be there. And I'm of the mindset, like, I think that every black person deserves to be a millionaire at a minimum.
Yes.
Right. Like, okay, great if you become a billionaire, wonderful. But at a minimum, you need to be a millionaire and you deserve to be there. You just need to figure out how to do it. And so if you figure out how to do it, number one, we're waking up early in the morning. We're not getting up at noon, even on Saturday, even on Sunday. We're not getting up at noon. We're working out. We're eating right, because all those things give you the energy. They fuel your body, they fuel your mind so that you can do the things you need to do. We're making the right
Yes.
relationships, right? We're connecting with people. We're joining these Facebook groups. We're investing in ourselves. We're going to events. We're doing these things because even if you're not there yet, you're never going to make it there until you really start to connect yourself and decide that you deserve it. So I think if
Yes.
you feel that imposter syndrome because deep down inside you feel like you don't deserve it.
And by investing in yourself, it absolutely should allow that feeling to start going away. And a lot of people, they don't understand. I want to point out, she said something that's really, really important. So I want to make sure you guys are catching these gems. Waking up at 12 o'clock is a problem. And here's why. Somewhere in the world, it is 2 p.m. Somewhere in the world, it is nighttime.
Yes.
You cannot expect to be successful when you have given 12 hours of your day away. Right? So there's 24 hours in a day. If you wake up at 12, half of your day is gone. And
Yes.
we always say we don't have enough time. I live downtown Chicago, and one of the things I love is looking out the window. There is people on boats in the lake at 7 a.m. There is people. It's hot, y'all. We're gonna get on that boat. We're getting on the boat with you. We're coming. We're coming. You know, there are people walking. They're on the beach. All type of stuff. So when you're in the bed sleeping that late, and I'm not saying you have to be the one that's on the beach or you have to, ride the bike or on the boat. But if you're in the bed to noon, you are missing a lot of time, especially in your beginning stages where you're probably doing many other roles yourself, right? Yes, you're going to outsource, the legal work, the accounting work, but the deal finding, the taking the calls, the cold calling, all of that stuff, you may be doing yourself. So it becomes really important to invest in yourself. One of the things that I always say, and it's a term that I coined. I'm the investor lawyer. And when I say that, people are like, why are you the investor lawyer? They relate that to me being a lawyer and me practicing real estate and things of that nature. Don't call me for your real estate deals, guys. I don't do residential anymore. I
Call
don't
me
do it. But she's there, okay?
for that.
Before you guys started calling me for that. But what I tell them is the reason why I coined the term the investor lawyer is I only work with investors. You have to be willing to invest in your mindset. You have to be willing to invest in your business. You have to be willing to invest your time. It's not just about money. If you are coming to me to help you become successful, to help you close a deal, I need you to be able and willing and prepared to invest in yourself. And if you cannot, at a bare minimum, invest in yourself, this may not be a good partnership, right? Because real estate deals you talked about, you can lose some money doing deals.
Yeah.
You have to be ready and willing to invest in yourself. Invest in getting up before noon, right? And this is so important, so much so I saw the value of it. I let people know I'm very transparent. I'm the investor lawyer. Yes, I'm expecting you to invest in yourself because I'm going to invest in you too. I'm
Yep.
going to invest to make sure that whatever I said I can do, I will deliver above and beyond for you. So I need you too to be investing in yourself. And that go for real estate investors, that go for business owners, family and friends. Your relationship with me, I need you to be an investor because then
Mhm.
I know you are serious. Then I know we can break some generational curses and we can actually do the real work instead of just talking about it. So I love that you mentioned investing in yourself because these are things that a lot of times they look at the end result, right? They hear you say, I have a $12 million portfolio, but they don't realize the things you had to do to get that $12 million portfolio, right? I haven't heard you say it maybe, but I didn't hear you say you got your first check and you went and bought Louis and you spent it all, right? She invested that money back into her next deal and her next deal, and now she have a phenomenal portfolio and a yacht, which I want to hear some more about that yacht as well.
Yes. So I'll tell you about that. I mean, that also has to do with that whole leveraging thing I told you about. So we actually we live about maybe about 3 blocks from the lake.
Awesome.
And they built a harbor, which maybe is about a half mile from us on 31st Street. And so when they built the harbor, we were like, "Oh my God, this is so awesome!" And so we decided to just start learning about boats, just because we both love the water. And so we were learning about boats, and we decided to buy a boat, but we researched it for about 2 years.
Okay.
Research like how, like what we're gonna do, how much it costs, how much does it cost in the wintertime, how much does it cost to maintain it, what are the different brands. We went to the boat show. We did all of these things before we just jumped into it. We didn't just jump into it, because
We
you
call
hear
that
about
due diligence, y'all. She did
due
that due
diligence,
diligence.
due
One thing
diligence.
an attorney will do is their due diligence. Okay.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so you hear people say the best day you have a boat is the day you buy it and the day you sell it. I 100% disagree. The best day of a boat for us was the day we bought it and every Sunday when we get on it, right? Like
Yes.
it is like that's our peaceful place. Like when we feel like, hey, we just need to get away for a minute, we'll go over there, and it's in walking distance from my house. So the first 2 years that we had it, we were just like, okay, we're just gonna have it just for us. It's not a business. It's just what we're doing to have fun. How we bought it, we actually pulled some money out of our house, right? So I bought my house cash for $75,000. I rehabbed it. And we, the rehab took about 10 months. It was a complete gut rehab. It was the first complete gut rehab that I ever did. But we had a lot of equity in our house. So we pulled that equity out, and we bought our boat. And so the first 2 years, we just enjoyed it, just us and our family, took the kids out there, took our friends. And then my husband was like, wait a minute, we spending $30,000 a year to maintain this boat. We need to charter it at least a little bit to try to make some of this money, and then we can enjoy it the other days. So then we decided to do some boat shares, because we had friends who were like, hey, I think I want to get a boat. Yeah, what do
Yeah.
I do, or whatever. And we were like, you know what? Just share with us this year. Pay us $5,000. Let's put it on a calendar and we'll just do it. So we did that with some friends for a couple years. And then my husband got his captain's license. We got a charter license. And so now we're a full charter. Where
Nice.
it,
I love that.
yeah, yeah. So now it's a full business. But that wasn't the plan from the start. But once it became a plan, I'll tell you this, back to that planning part of it. It's like, okay, well, now that we're chartering it, how much money does it need to make? What days can we have it? How can we, because I still want to be able to use it for business, be able to take, real estate agents out, that kind of thing. So what days and times do I have to do that? So we manage all of that on a schedule. But it's become a business as well. It's a six-figure business.
Leverage a $75,000 property into a yacht that she is now chartering people on. That's what I'm talking about. Like, you do not have to be this influencer, this TikTok girly to get to the bag. She's getting to the bag by leveraging her business, right? That $75,000 property have now turned into a yacht, which is amazing. You can tell your husband, I want to learn how to drive a boat. So if he's open, I will pay him to teach me and my husband how to drive a boat. I am a avid learner, so I'm interested in learning how to drive a boat as well as an airplane. That is on my bucket list. So if he's open to teaching me how to drive a boat, please let me know.
Well,
I'll
your
pay him
first
too.
lesson is next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday.
That's your first
Wait,
lesson.
wait, okay. It's done. Look, and it's recorded. I'm gonna hold you to that. I'm gonna hold you to that. It's a date, certainly. That's gonna be so exciting. I really love how you have leveraged, your from, like you said, you started from a divorce to being a single mom to remarrying to building a $12 million portfolio. And the things that you mentioned, those are things that would have stopped someone else. But you didn't let that make you give up. You kept going, and now you're really truly a success story, which I love hearing about. Um, we're in this time of what I call popularity, right? Where everyone think they need to be a YouTuber. Everyone think they need to be an influencer, or they need a lot of followers and all of that stuff. Do you think any of that have affected your business in any type of way?
So, not really. No. I mean, in terms of my real estate business, I would say absolutely not. My legal business, yes. I think my passion for really reaching out and letting people know. So that's what I used social media really to let people know, hey, I'm doing this and you can do it too. And so that's what I use it for, but it's not like because I'm looking at how many followers I have. It's because like, I was doing it and one of my friends was like, "Well, why are you posting all your business out there and stuff like that?" And I was like, "You know why? Because when I'm 100, because I plan on being 100, I want you to be here. And I want you to have what I have. So when I say at 100, let's go on vacation, you don't tell me that you're limited by a fixed income. Like we can all go together.
Yeah.
So, that's what's important to me. What's important to me is doing what I do and sharing it with others so other people can get to where I am so we can be there together and enjoy it together.
Yes, one of the sayings, I forget which person said this, but I know I've heard this, so this is not authentic or from me, originally from me, right? Um, if they don't know you, they can't flow you.
Yeah.
They can't give you the money if they don't know you. But what I told people in the time of the YouTuber and the influencer, you do not need $1 million. I'm sorry, 1 million followers to make $1 million. You just need to find your trap. If you are finding your trap with people, you're providing them with value, they're getting to know your work is good. You could really build a successful career and a successful, whether that's a company and or 9 to 5 career. You could build a really successful career just by providing great value without 1 million followers. Now somebody have to know you, right? Either the higher up execs have to know you to give you the promotion, or
Yep.
some people online have to know you, the clients, to bring you some clients. But you don't need to have 1 million followers. And there's so many, I share this because there's so many even adults who they're stuck on, how do I build my Instagram account, how do I build my YouTube account, I won't make money. Yes, you will. Trust me, you can make hundreds of thousands of dollars without a huge follower. So I wanted to share that. But I want to piggyback on something you said.
And I'll say, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I'll say this is that, like, those CEOs I told you that I met who I can send an email and say, hey, I'm having trouble with this deal. It's not going through. Your people are giving me a little problem, or I'm having a problem with an appraisal or whatever issues I'm having. Now that I've had dinner with the CEO of the company and I can send them a personal email, we're not following each other on social media at all. Those people I
Not
really
everyone
wouldn't.
have social.
Yeah, or if they do, I don't know, right? So that's not our relationship. Like my business relationships are my business relationships, and those relationships are the ones that really have helped me. That person to person networking that I think that now that social media is so popular that we ignore the importance of that actual in person networking, actually getting to know people.
Yes, and those are, in my opinion, more valuable than the superficial social media relationships, right? Like it's
Mhm.
great to be connected, but if this is a person you're going out to lunch with, this is a person you can pick up the phone and call because you have their phone number. You're gonna have a better, relationship with them than just commenting on each other's Facebook group. So I'm always where, even if I met someone on Facebook, I'm like, if they cool, don't do it with people that aren't. You could be in trouble. But if they're, good people, I'm like, would you like to go to lunch? Let's get some tacos, Taco Tuesday, right? Because you want to really build authentic relationships with people. That is where that circle of friends that we talk about, if you need a $100,000 today, you should have a circle of friends where if you reach out to 4 to 10 people, you can receive $100,000 in 7 days. Starting out, they're like, what? $100,000 in 7 days? It's possible. Okay. No cap. If I needed it in 4 days, I know enough people. We can get together and bring it together. You may not have that starting out in the beginning, but if you build enough relationships, you will have that if you don't already have that amount in your account today. So I think that's really important. You touched on something. I want to bring it back just to make sure we, get that juicy answers for them. You talked about going out with friends and wanted to make sure your friends can afford to be there. Okay. this is a real thing for entrepreneurs and investors who they are the first in a generation to make it, right? They probably don't have a network of friends who have money. They probably don't have family who have money. And sometimes you become the payer and the giver. Giving is okay, nothing wrong with giving. But how do you manage those relationships? Because sometimes friends aren't elevating the way that you think they may, which is, okay to a certain extent, but that also leads them to not being able to afford to go to the places you like to go.
You know what? My friends are elevating. And so I think that your friend groups shift. And it doesn't mean you don't love on and care about those old friends and may not be able to do what you can do. But I have friends that if I need to call somebody to be like, hey, you want to go to Puerto Rico, whatever, in a couple weeks, or you want to do this or do that, like it's not a problem. And I think that that's important because otherwise, when you and I've gotten there, right? Like when I first got to where I am, or I first was building, like it felt really lonely. Like I didn't have people to talk to. And that's when like those networking circles are so important because you need people that are going to encourage you because there's days that you just don't feel encouraged. And so you need
Yes.
those friends that are going to encourage you. And those same friends that are going to encourage you can encourage you because they understand, because they also experience it. So I have a friend group that is on the same level that I'm on. And, that may sound harsh and people might be like, oh, it's not harsh. It's just the reality of it that, it's that doesn't mean, like I said, I do have friends that are not necessarily where I am, but they're not the friends that I'm calling for business advice. And they're also not the friends I'm calling to ask to go on vacation because they don't have it. And I know they don't have it. And I'm not even going to go through that argument or that difficult conversation or being upset. Like it's just, your friend groups evolve as you evolve. Um, and it's
So is it
really,
safe to say get some
it's
new
me.
friends, sis?
Listen. And it sounds mean. Like it sounds mean. I don't want to sound mean, but at the same time, like you have to surround yourself when you're building with other people who are building. Otherwise, you can't do it because you'll feel lonely, you'll feel discouraged, nobody around you will understand, you won't have a support system. Like the one thing, like my husband, even though he never was interested in real estate, he always was my biggest cheerleader. Like the days I was like, oh, I can't do this anymore. He was like, yes, you can. You're okay. Like, you know what you're doing. You're super smart. You're the smartest person I know. Like you need that. And
Yes.
so it's okay to tend to your needs. And I think that especially like I'm a giver. And so for givers, sometimes we feel like we have to neglect our needs for other people. And, I do that to a certain extent, but then you also have to have boundaries. And those boundaries end when you really feel empty and you need people to fill your cup. You have to surround yourself with people who can fill your cup.
I agree. Do you ever find like it to be like taboo to kind of discuss money with friends, or do you just avoid the conversation and not invite them?
So, like I said, I have friends that I can discuss it with. And so,
Okay.
if I'm like having a struggle or whatever, like I have friends that I can call and be like, listen, like, what the heck? Like, I did blah, 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 blah. And here's what's going on. What do I do about this? Or, hey, girl, like, look, like, I just did this deal and I made blah, 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 blah of money. And they're like, yay. Like, like I have learned to, especially those people who are going to money shame me or make me feel bad, I've learned to distance myself from them because that's not what I need.
Okay.
I need in my life people who are going to be cheerleaders because what I do is not easy. And
Yeah.
so I like what fills me up is having people in my environment, and this has nothing to do with money, but I'm going to kind of go off the subject a little bit. But
That's
like
okay.
about 10 years ago, I decided to be vegan. And, I'm on these vegan websites. I'm like these Facebook pages, and people are like, oh, I tell my friends they're vegan. And I get there and all they have is steak. And I'm like, who are these people's friends? Because I get to my friend's house and they're trying to impress me with what they made or what they got that's vegan. And even if I don't like it, I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, girl, thank you. You know what I mean? Because like I have learned to, and I think that when you are building, you have to learn to surround yourself by people who are also building or who are going to encourage you, who are never going to make you feel bad about what you're doing, who are always going to be in your corner. And that sometimes means distancing yourself or ending some relationships that are not supportive or don't fit your needs.
And that's really, important because sometimes elevation requires separation. And that's the hardest part when you are becoming successful, when you're stepping into new territory, is being able to separate yourself, right? Like you mentioned, having those cheerleaders. When it get hard, those cheerleaders help you to continue. It help you
Mhm.
to give it another try. And if you only have like kind of Debbie Downers or doubters around you, it really could cause you not to be successful as well because you won't keep trying. So I absolutely agree with ensuring that you have that village, those cheerleaders around you, and it makes the process a little easier. It's hard, y'all. Is This process is hard. What she do, what I do, we may make it look cute. It's hard. It's very, very hard work, but having that group of cheerleaders do make it the load a little easier or a little lighter. So I definitely agree. Well, I have a couple more questions for you. I won't keep you all night because I know we could talk all day. But what advice? Someone brand new. What would be your advice to them?
Start with you, right? So find what you love. Like people will contact me and they'll be like, "Oh, how do you do real estate? Because I think I want to do real estate, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "Okay, well, what do you like about real estate?" And they're like, "Well, I don't really like it. I just think I can make some money at it." And I'm like, you can't do it if you don't like it, right?" Like
Yeah.
there are a lot of things you can make money in. I make money with real estate because I love real estate. Like I go places and I want to see the houses, right? Like I
That's
like
me.
right, like I go and I want to see how people are living. I love what I do. And the funny thing about it is that when I look back in law school, I was in a real estate, how we have the practicums. I was in a
Yes.
practicum for real estate. And I did really well in that practicum. And the professor was like, "Hey, do you want to work for me?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I worked for that professor for the rest of the time I was in law school. And it never occurred to me to go into real estate law when I graduated, right? Because I just didn't think about it. I did something else. But when I got back to real estate, I was like, this is what I love, right? And then not
Yes.
only that, but I went into real estate because I wanted to help people. And right now, helping people purchase homes, purchase their real estate, their investment properties, purchase their businesses. I'm helping people reach their dreams, and I feel like I'm helping people every day, and I love what I'm doing. It's different every day. It's a lot of, different, it's a lot of moving parts. I'm all over the place, but I love that. And that's not for everybody. So my thing is number one, find what you love and do that. If real
Yes.
estate is what you love, then you have to be disciplined, right? Like you're not going to be able to go on every trip. You're not going to be able to buy the red bottoms. You're not going to be able to buy the Louis, like you said. Some of the things that you may want to do or that instinctually, like your body is telling you, or you like, I feel like I deserve it. Like some of the things you deserve, you have to hold back on if you really want to build. And so those sacrifices and being ready for those sacrifices is important. And a lot of that starts with really facing what your inner fears are. So, like, why are you not doing the things that you want to do? And
Yes.
then writing them down and allowing yourself to dream. So, and if your dream is real estate, then really committing to that financially, personally, everything that you're doing has to be focused on what it is that you believe that you love.
I think that's the key. Like when you're speaking, I can hear the love. I can hear the passion for what it is you're doing. And one thing that you cannot fake if you don't like something. The
Mhm.
body will not get up, right? The body will not push you to keep doing it. You could do it, 2, 3 years, but if you don't love it, the body, when it get hard, you don't have any fuel to keep you going. And a lot of people, they do what's trendy, right? Whatever's trendy
Mhm.
for the moment, they do it to make money, but they don't realize the real money comes from being consistent. So you've been investing now, what is it, 20 years or close to, 20 years, something of that nature. You can only do that when you love something. If you don't love it, it's, you know, I'm not going to say guaranteed, but it's more than likely you are going to hop. And when I mean hop, you go from real estate to now you do, nails, to now you're doing hair. Like, you're hopping all over the place. And when you're industry hopping like that, every time you industry hop, you have to start over from scratch. You have to build your connections in that industry again. You have to become known, and it makes you further and further keep you away from reaching your goals. So definitely, I'm a believer of, you need to be passionate. You need to love it. If you do not love it, find what it is you love. You can monetize everything. Okay. Like, I seen a lady monetizing, I think she was selling like moose poop or something like that.
Yes.
Literally, it sounds
Fair
crazy, but
enough.
you
Yes.
can monetize everything. She was making little
Mhm.
chains out of it. So do something that you are truly passionate about, and the money will come, right? Some
Mhm.
people have to know you. You don't need a million followers. It will come. Are there any last words that you would like to share with the people?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like we said, that finding what you love, committing to it, being consistent and networking in it. Those are the four takeaways, right? And then even if you just take one of those away and start in it today. Don't think you need to be at the beginning of the year to set your goals. Don't think you need to be on a Sunday to set your goals. Like, it doesn't matter. You can start tonight saying, hey, this is what I love. Let me write it down. Let me make a plan. But what I love is what I'm passionate about, what I can be committed to, and what I can network in, what I can talk to people. Like, I can sit and talk to people about real estate all day, all night. And it's like the best. Like, I had a investor yacht night, and we went out for the fireworks. And we were so into our conversation that we missed the fireworks. And everybody was laughing about the fact that we were like, wow, we missed the fireworks. But it didn't even matter. And it was like, I walked away from that. I was like, this is the best night ever. And I was like, I'm such a nerd because we were talking about financing and like all these other things. Like,
That's when you
like,
love it. You
yes,
love
yes,
it so much, so it's no pressure, right? Like, we're recording
right.
now and it's love. It doesn't
Yeah,
feel hard labor, right? Although it's
right.
work, it doesn't feel like hard labor because you really
Mhm.
love what you're doing, and it
Absolutely.
shows. So where can everyone follow you at? Where can they find you at?
So I'm at Lucas the Closer on Instagram and Facebook. So you can follow me there. I'm also doing a conference in October 5th through the 9th, the Wealth and Wellness Experience. It's a conference where we talk about how do you build wealth and live to enjoy it. And so I'll be there talking about real estate investment. We have Larry Jones coming to talk about stock investment. We have Rich and Regular talking about early retirement. So if you're on that 9 to 5, but you don't want to do that for the rest of your life, how do you plan and get there? And we're talking about taking care of your body and your mind in Puerto Rico. So
That will
that's the
be
conference
amazing.
coming up. Yes, I hope you can join us as well. So it's the Wealth and Wellness Experience, October 5th through 9th. So you can also follow us there.
Awesome. We will put your information in the show notes as well. So it will be there for people to find you, to follow you. You have been amazing, have shared a wealth of information with us tonight. So I want to thank you, thank you, thank you. I will, really just appreciate greatly if you guys show her the love and support, the same love and support that you give me. Follow her, like her, support her. She does amazing. Few things, just because you guys know I don't play about my people. She got a yacht in Chicago. She charter yachts. If you're in a playpen this summer, please reach out to her and show her that love and support for all of the things that she is doing. And we talked about your network. Get the people in your network. You support them first, they'll love you forever. It's been amazing time. Thank you as always. You guys enjoy.
Thank you.